For most of us, daily life involves an unavoidable baseline of exhaustion. We push through the day, run out of steam, and wait to recharge. We operate on the assumption that we are biological containers holding a finite amount of power. In this model, every task and every stressor is a withdrawal that eventually leaves the tank dry. This closed-loop logic makes burnout a mathematical certainty. A system that only stores energy without a constant intake is governed by entropy. It must eventually fail. The primary drain on our system comes from our internal state. When we live in fear or isolation, we introduce noise and interference into our biological circuitry. In systems engineering, this is known as electrical impedance, a resistance that opposes the flow of current. This resistance makes our internal architecture jagged and inefficient. It pinches the conduit, forcing us to rely on our smallest, most localized physical reserves to survive. This raises a question. What if energy is not something we store in a container, but something we access by connecting to an infinite, non-local field? Persistent fatigue often indicates a failure in how we draw power. We are attempting to run a high-output life while disconnected from the primary source. Physics describes a unified field, the vacuum state of the universe. It is the unconditioned potential from which all kinetic energy is derived. Generating power does not always require fast, aggressive motion. In fact, mechanical work requires a stable, unmoving reference frame to be effective. Consider a lever. The ends of the board are in constant motion, but they only have the capacity to do work because of the fulcrum. The power comes from that unmoving pivot point in the center. The unified field serves as this cosmic fulcrum. It is a state of static equilibrium, often called 0 point. It powers the universe by providing the stationary center that all motion pushes against. Humans often do the opposite. We try to move faster and work harder to create energy, which only increases friction. We ignore the stillness that actually sustains the wave. Accessing high-level power requires us to align our internal structure with that unshakable stillness at the center. If the source of everything is perfectly still, we have to account for why the universe is full of heat, light, and constant motion. In electrical systems, you create a potential difference, or voltage, by separating charges. That gap creates a tension that wants to snap back into balance. The universe generates activity through a similar division. It phase modulates its singular stillness into polarized extremes, such as radiation and gravitation, or expansion and contraction. This polarization induces massive systemic tension. Because these separated forces are always seeking a return to unity, they create a continuous energetic drive. Every action we see, the burning of a star or the growth of a plant, is the current created by these separated waves trying to return to a state of equilibrium. The kinetic energy of our lives is the measurable friction of a universe seeking to resolve its own division. To stop our own cycle of burnout, we have to find a way to plug into that stationary power source without creating resistance. This is the mechanical role of unconditional love. In physics terms, love functions as a state of maximum structural coherence, a perfect alignment of parts. While the ego creates the friction of separation, unity recognizes no boundaries. Because there is no separation, there is no internal resistance to the flow of energy. By removing this internal friction, our biological system functions as a superconductor. In solid-state physics, a superconductor allows a current to flow with zero resistance, meaning energy moves without being lost to heat or noise. Coherence is a physical requirement. To transmit infinite energy without breaking down the system, we must remove the resistance of fear. Living through the ego is a labor of isolated effort. We stand on the shore with a bucket, trying to scoop up enough water to keep ourselves going. The bucket leaks, our muscles ache, and eventually the supply fails. This is the limit of the closed system. But a shift happens when we recognize we are an extension of the ocean itself. We stop carrying buckets. By creating a frictionless channel of connection, the rhythmic current of the ocean flows inland on its own. It powers the system without the need for manual extraction. True power comes from moving past the logic of the battery. By becoming a frictionless channel, We allow the infinite current of the source to move through us.